What was the big rumor in your high school? Did it turn out to be true? There was this kid. He was absolutely terrible at singing and acting. Yet every year, he was the lead role in whatever play musical the drama class was putting on. Rumor had it that he was banging the drama teacher. It was never actually confirmed. But summer after graduation, the two of them went on a trip to Europe together. In my high school shortly after 9/11, people all of a sudden started passing out left and right, and some even had to be hospitalized. Rumor was that it was another terrorist attack. Only this time they were releasing noxious chemicals into the ventilation system. We were evacuated and didn't have school for about 3 days while they investigated. Truth was, it was just moldy sandwiches and rotten fruit. Someone had been hiding their friend's lunch in one of the vents for like 2 weeks. Edit. All of a sudden I get people telling me that all of a sudden is incorrect. I'm just here to tell a story. Damn. That some guy took so much acid that he thought he was a carton of orange juice. And if he fell over, all the orange juice would spill out and he'd die. No. It wasn't true. There was a rumor at my school that a history teacher and girls volleyball coach was having sex with a few students. Very true. He was taken out of class and put in handcuffs. I was friends with 2 of them, maybe 4 girls. Edit. People keep asking where this happened, so for those curious, it happened in Southern California 2009. Did the girls handcuff him to the bed or the stairs or what? OP, you can't leave me hanging, I still have to masturbate. Yes, many times. Middle-aged high school history teacher was hitting on the freshman girls a little too much. The lingerie he bought for one of them was some damning evidence that got him fired. There was an underground pool that only the teachers had access to. My high school was built around 1999. Was supposedly designed like a prison. Has a massive amphitheater. And doesn't have any real walls aside from dividers in the wing areas. It also drew from a very affluent area, so you can imagine that shenanigans were always happening. From people smearing sheet on the walls in the bathroom, to people snorting lines of coke off a textbook. Anyways, every person at my high school has heard about the pool rumor. Hell, it already had 3 levels and an amphitheater. So why not a pool? The teachers would often joke or allude to the pool. About how it was the last thing built. Or that it wasn't filled with water so it couldn't be used. It was supposedly right under the gym floor and the gymnasium itself could open up to reveal a pool. I had 0 period weight training my junior and senior year. And we'd occasionally scout the gym to see if there was any hidden access port to it. We found nothing. That the overly flamboyant dude who literally sang show tunes in the hallway while dancing and who frequently brought what can only be described as a micro shirt vacuum to school to keep lint off his shirt was gay. It turns out he is. Spanish teacher was allegedly in Playboy in the mid-70s. Turned out to be true. There was a rumor that some kid at my school died of an overdose or something. Everybody, including people who didn't even know the guy, made Facebook posts about how good of a guy he was and even created Facebook groups dedicated to his memory. Turns out kid was just got really sick for a couple of weeks and his friends decided to duck with everybody. Kid was like, man, duck it, and played along. That a freshman girl was caught giving a pterodactyl to 3 seniors in the stairwell. Yes. Edit. The best part was that the person who discovered them was our grandmotherly biology teacher. The stairwell was directly behind her room. I imagine she said something like, "Oh my word," when she saw them. Really makes the story kinda silly. Rumor. Some kid jacked off in the cafeteria ranch dressing. Reality. Some kid jacked off in the cafeteria ranch dressing. He had to get tested for STDs since a ton of people consumed it. So there was a chance they could have gotten one from him. Luckily he was clean. Google for news article verification. When I was a freshman in high school, the hot girl was a sophomore. Next year she wasn't in school anymore. The year after that I heard she was in porn. Turned out to be true. The school had to block her name in Google. That's gross. But what's her name so I can avoid it? And what site is she on? So I can avoid that one too. Teacher was selling coke to students and letting them smoke weed in her classroom, get high on coke at her house. Yes, it turned out to be true. This was the same year the middle school teacher at the school next door was busted for child touching. I went to an all-boys boarding school. Well, there was a rumor that many of the very popular upperclassmen were having kind of a gay orgy, including one of the adults in charge of a floor in the student housing. All these guys were pulling crazy amounts of girls. Everyone was 18 out of the orgy. So everyone can stand down. Adult was fired immediately once rumor spread at end of term. True. Teacher took 2 students to a concert and then had a 3-way. Was true. And then a year or two later I think one of our coaches did the same thing. What was the concert? I don't know why I have to know. I just have to know. That our JV girls softball coach was sleeping with one of the players. It was true. The news covered it and everything. He was mid-30s and she was 16. Same thing happened in my high school. Where are you from? That a girl there regularly had sex with horses. I still to this day have no idea if it was true. She was pretty chill though. This girl could deep throat a roll of Ritz crackers. I don't know about the crackers, but I know how far she got when she blew me. The world was going to end on the 20th of April, 1999. I have no idea how this rumor got started, but people were dead serious about it. And then the world didn't end and everything went on as normal. Isn't that the exact day of the Columbine massacre? That my best friend was having sex with another girl in our class in the science lab. Tiny. Private Islamic school. That talk spreads fast. It wasn't true. But man. Those few weeks were brutal. As a guy who also attended a tiny private Islamic school. Holy shit. That shit's mayhem. Right? Dude was getting horrible glares from everyone. And us along with him. It was chaos. Even when the teachers talked about assuming the best of your fellow Muslim. Well, you can imagine how well that went. That a friend of mine was gay. Even though he had an on-again off-again girlfriend. He came out right after high school. Likely was afraid of getting harassed, bullied. Which is understandable since some teens can be senselessly mean. So there was this quiet kid at my high school. Call him B. B had friends. But they were all secluded. They didn't talk to the rest of the school. So B gets sick one day. He goes to the doctor and has to stay home for a while. He's not in danger of dying. But he's contagious and thus has to stay home for about 2 weeks. Our classes were pretty small so people started to notice after 2 days that he was missing. Rather than ask his friends. Like logical people. His classmates just assumed he was dead. In less than a week the whole school knew B had been run over by a truck and people were trying to figure out when his funeral was. Needless to say, people were confused when he pulled a Jesus. Minus the scars. He got a kick out of it. And it became a joke around school to say I thought you died. When B showed up anywhere. That my wife was a huge sleut. I didn't know her at the time. But knew of her. The stories that went around about her were really crazy but no one knew what was true and what wasn't. Stories of blowing half the football team at once. Sleeping with teachers, male and female. Orgies. Now. And everything else. She settled down a bit in her 20s. We got together. Now married with kids. She tells me in detail the stories of what really happened. Let's just say that 99% rumors were true. In middle school, we always heard rumors of the hot reading teacher banging students. I didn't really believe it. But I wanted to. She'd wear short skirts and skimpy clothing. But never really seemed like the kind of teacher to do that. Then about 7 years later, I saw on the news about how she and a pay teacher from the local high school were in a love triangle with a 6th grade female student at the school. I was ecstatic. Not because she was banging kids. But because the childhood rumor we all had turned out to be true. Then I realized I was no longer friends with any of the other students that talked about those rumors. And had nobody to excitedly tell. There were two boys, Mark and Richard, who went away with Richard's dad to a holiday house. One of them left a piece of clothing to dry on a heater and the house caught fire, killing Mark and burning 40% of Richard's body. The dad, to my knowledge, didn't have any serious burns. The rumor was that Richard's dad saved his son but didn't even try to save Mark. The rumor was bogus, but it had everyone talking about it for a year. What had actually happened was the Mark dried his jumper on the heater in his room, which was located on the top floor. He was already dead by the time the dad could reach him. There was an around 30-year-old teacher at my high school who was rumored to have fake bobs. This wasn't actually a rumor because she told people that it was true and was not ashamed at all. She was married. There was another rumor that she was sleeping with the only two black kids at the school, who were seniors at the time and 18, so technically it wasn't illegal. She was asked to resign after the school met with her and the boys and their parents, and then she got divorced. So I'm going to go with yes, it was true. After I graduated, my cheerleading coach told me that she had gone to a party with one of the guys who she had supposedly slept with, and he told her that it was true and that she was the worst duck he'd ever had. The ducked up part of this is that this teacher had a little brother who was also a senior, and the two boys she slept with definitely bullied him prior to his sister deciding it was a good idea to sleep with them, and after. Of course, she was a terrible person. A girl in our middle school was getting paternity tests to figure out who the father of her daughter was. They finally found out it was a senior, but not before rumors spread that the last person they were going to test was a classmate's father. Turned out to be true. However, her, at the time, boyfriend decided to raise the daughter, and although they are no longer dating, he still plays the father role. My English teacher got an earring, and there was a rumor that he went with a student. That turned into a rumor about how he was getting tattoos with students and paying for them. In one version of the rumor, he himself pierced a student's ears, and in another, the student pierced his ears. He told us to please spread a rumor that he was a crack baby, because the only way to counteract a rumor is to drown it with an even more vicious rumor. The next semester, some PTA parent was overheard asking if it was true he was a crack baby. Everyone forgot about the earring thing and he went right on teaching. He also revealed the next semester that his earring was fake to begin with, but he hadn't wanted to remove it because he was curious to see how far the rumor would go. So, no, none of the rumors were true, as far as I know. I heard he later got a real earring, but I'd graduated by then, so I don't know. It seems like the sort of thing he'd do. That one of our English teachers had written erotic novels under a pseudonym. We never could find them, but given some of the stuff he used to give out in class and his general way, it was certainly plausible. Not exactly a rumor, but my PE teacher, who is married and Catholic, is following a person on Twitter named Specifics. It's exactly what it sounds like. A sophomore came out of the closet so that he would be able to get close to the senior girls. Then, after the friendship was cemented, he would say he was confused and get the girls to sleep with him. I was that sophomore. It was not true. That some kids were selling heroin, which later was found out to be weed up, then just pot brownies, and finally just regular brownies. Funny how much kids can over-exaggerate things. I acted fairly masculine in high school, especially since I was a teenage boy. For whatever reason, rumor got around that I was trans or that I wanted to be a girl, despite me literally never displaying anything of the sort that would indicate that desire. I was made fun of mercilessly, so they probably just started it to be even bigger assholes than they already were. Well, I showed them. I'm MTF trans. Methodicas. Eat it. That the head cheerleader and the baseball star, not her boyfriend, were ducking in the bathroom during class. Both were from very wealthy families. Never confirmed. But we suddenly got a new football field and both teams got ice in school suspension, which doesn't go on your HS transcript, for unknown reasons, for a day. Another rumor was that the vice principal was sleeping with the married nurse. It was true. The video of them starting to duck in the elevator was shown on a local news channel. Also, the nurse ended up pregnant with his baby. At the beginning of each year, the geometry teacher would choose a male student who she'd sleep with during the year. One year it was supposedly a guy I knew reasonably well. Yet I never heard a word from him about it. Plus, it seemed a little too Bull Durham-y to me. Happened in college, but one of the sergeants with our ROTC battalion was always super weird. Especially around kids. So we always joked that he underage poked. He got arrested a year later on 47 counts of 6 with a minor.